John and Nancy Guth are no ordinary couple. While most grandparents enjoy kicking back, relaxing, playing with their grandchildren, and watching them do ambitious things, the Guths are the ones setting the bar for their entire family, and quite frankly, making us all look bad. At 67 years old and 70 years old respectively, John and Nancy are often known by their Race Across America team name, Team Beau Babe. Since 2010, Nancy has raced on 5 RAAM teams, setting records and making history along the way, including her 2012 two-person over 60 record with her husband John in a time of 8 days, 3 hours and 43 minutes. This powerhouse couple also hold the over 60 mixed record in the Race Across the West and the 4-person mixed record on RAAM Team Beau Babe and Boys in a time of 7 days, 53 minutes. And to cap it all off, they've also won in the 6, 12, and 24-hour World Time Trial Championships in Borrego Springs, California. In 2021, Nancy is hoping to become the first female to race in the 70-plus age category. Exciting stuff. I'm your host, Justin Tu. Let's roll. Hey Ultra family, Justin Tu here, your host of the Ultra Cycling Show. Thanks for tuning in to today's very special episode where we'll be able to talk at great lengths about ultra cycling because our two guests on today's show have a great deal of experience. John and Nancy Guth, John being 67 years old now and Nancy 70 years. They currently reside in Stafford, Virginia, and some of their noteworthy accomplishments include many team Race Across Americas, different course records that they've set, and also competing in the Borrego 24-hour World Time Trials every single year since the very beginning. So it's a great pleasure and honor to have both John and Nancy on the show today. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
It's our pleasure.
It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about all of your adventures because ultra cycling really is a great sport. But when you could do it together, not just as a team, but also as husband and wife, I'm sure the adventures are tenfold, good and bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd love to get to know both of you briefly with a quick sprint round of questions. It's a series of questions where we can get to know you in a nutshell in a fun way, and you could answer in a few sentences. I'll ask both of you. The first question, of course, is how long have you both been riding bicycles?
We started not 30 years ago.
No.
It was with the other house.
Yeah. It was about 25 years.
About 25 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Impressive.
Yeah.
All right.
But I actually started when I was working on my doctorate, and John was riding because I had gotten him a bike and wanted him to get some aerobic exercise. And so he started riding, and then I used to come out after I'd study on Saturday and Sunday, then I'd come out and ride with him. And that was after he had ridden with his friends, of course. Then for my doctorate, when I finished, I actually skipped my graduation, which I shouldn't have done, but I did. And I went into my first time trial race.
Wow. Okay.
I won it.
Instead of the graduation, she went to time trial. So
incredible. So that speaks volumes about what we'll be talking about today and the kind of person and ultra cyclist that you are, Nancy. That's amazing. What a great story. I'm curious, what did you study in your doctorate program?
Education. I've been in education my whole life, and I've been I continued my job as a supervisor of literacy for the county, for all the county schools when I was studying for my doctorate. So yes, I've been, and I still teach at the college now, even though I'm retired from the school district.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for all that you do. John, how about yourself?
I'm a mining engineer, and that's actually how we ended up moving to Virginia. We lived in New Mexico when we met, and we combined families at that point and moved here. Like I said, I'm a mining engineer at University of Arizona, but went into the construction materials like the quarries and that kind of stuff. And I was offered a job here and some place in Virginia. So said, sure, let's go do it. And,
Yeah.
and then, we just moved from New Mexico we lived out in Gallup, New Mexico. And, but I had been working out on the reservation and the Southern Navajo reservation. And then you were working, had done some for Zuni before that. And then both of us were in Gallup. So
very fascinating story. Thank you for sharing that. It definitely sounds like neither of you shy away from an adventure. And it seems like even after 25 years of cycling together and many more years, I'd imagine together, still together, even after all those RAAMs, after all those time trials, after all the children and grandchildren. How many do you have?
We had 4 children. We lost one of ours, was killed in a car accident. And we have 8 grandchildren. So they're very special.
Yeah. What a blessing. That's a handful. And even with all those children and grandchildren, you still find time to compete in the race across America. Now that is inspirational, even at your age, and for anyone really at any age. What you both continue to do is incredible. And so thank you for taking the time to share your story. I'm sure many will be kicked off their behind to try to do something themselves, no matter what age or stage of life. Okay, so how many bicycles do you both own? I'm really curious to know.
Well, let's see. That's not a fair question, because just the other day with all the bicycle stuff going on, we sold 4 bicycles to one guy.
Wow.
And then a bunch of 8, 9, 10, and 11 speed componentry, because we moved to 12 speed. So it's pretty interesting.
We have 4 main bikes, well, 2 each, for RAAM that we were building. And then we have
two major time trial bikes.
And we each have 2 light speeds from our previous RAAM.
Titanium light speeds.
You have a titanium, I have a carbon.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Actually, the bicycle I used for my RAAM, my primary bike, was a Lightspeed also, but a carbon. But I love the brand.
I love the carbon. I love the carbon. Yes, I really do.
So.
And we raced all of our RAAMs on Lightspeeds.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like I'm in good company. So I should be able to accomplish some great feats on my Lightspeed. So I'll keep at it.
There you go.
Keep at it. And if you need any new parts, we got them.
I can only imagine. Now, which bicycle do you ride the most?
Well, we actually ride the bikes that we got through Vesna, the Spiegels right now.
Oh,
we're
cool.
working on, we switched from our Lightspeeds just because they hadn't been building any more carbon since about 2015.
Right.
So we were interested in going into something that was a little bit newer. And so right now I like my Diablo, my Spiegel Diablo. John and I both like those a lot. So we've been racing on them, or riding, training on them.
And with our stuff too, generally everything on the bikes is identical except the frame size. Obviously, it's set up different. You're almost a foot shorter than me, but everything's pretty much the same, so that if anything goes wrong or something happens, we can back up on each other. Even if we have spare bikes, we can do things. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. It's something perhaps some people may not even think about or consider when you're riding as a couple and also on a team. A lot of things can happen out there, not just physically or nutritionally, but even with the hardware components. So very cool. And again, I'm sure you both have a vast breadth of experience when it comes to these things. So that is a little nugget that we'll have to hold on to, and that others should consider whenever they're participating. Even if it's a team of just friends, it is something to consider, because you don't want to be carrying car loads of different parts. And if you can share some, that would be helpful. Now, talking about bicycle components, I'm curious, what bicycle computer do you both use? Are you Garmin users? Wahoo?
No, Wahoos. Yeah, we're Wahoos, because we started out with the Wahoo kickers, the trainers.
Oh yeah.
And then we got our Wahoo computers, and
and it's all tied in with Strava and all that kind of stuff, so we can download any different, parameters, any things we were looking at. So
Yeah, definitely. Another Wahoo user. Yeah, it's becoming a very popular brand of product. I know for its reliability and also just the good bang for the buck. I'm also a Wahoo user myself, although I still own some of my older Garmin's.
So we never did have a Garmin, so we're new Wahoo.
Yeah, we I don't know. It wasn't resistive, but we didn't. But there was a lot of angst on my part when we would do some of the like randonneur events and things like that, for miles, because you're constantly trying to navigate things, and I don't know. We should have changed over before, but we didn't, and now we made the jump, so it's easy.
Yeah, well, welcome to the 21st century.
Yeah, really.
Exactly.
From the 19th.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, now I'm curious. Do either of you worry about tracking your heart rate or your functional threshold power, or just power in general, either for training or just interest sake or racing or anything like that?
We used to really get into that back in the old days. What was that the thing we had, the Polar? Yeah, back in the old days, the Polar heart rate monitors and all that stuff. And, we were really into that. But then after a while, we could pretty much tell exactly where we were without even looking. We knew what was going on, and, when we were getting over the edge and, things like that. And we kind of got away from it. But then when we got the Wahoos, what's that been, about 3-4 years now?
About 4 years.
About 4 years. They send you their heart rate monitor with it and stuff like that, so I started using it, and then I started really watching it. And, we used to, go and get ourselves evaluated and, find out what our lactate thresholds were and all that, and pedal till you got into just nothing but tunnel vision and everything went black, and we knew what the limit was. So
we haven't done that for many years.
Yeah, but I still watch that just to see. I comment on mine all the time. Nance doesn't pay much attention all the time on that one, but she definitely knows. And if she stops talking, I know her heart rate went up. So,
I have asthma, so I'm always dealing with that, and so I'm really cognizant of that, and I've got all the tricks I know how to do, but I worry more about the power thresholds, just because I'm getting old and it's getting harder and harder, and it's harder to keep it up like I used to. And John does more with his heart rate because his heart rate's really low. And that happened. That was a story that comes with one of the RAAM
crew chiefing.
RAAM crew chiefing.
Second one.
Yeah, he got a virus.
I got a heart virus after that. When you do all the RAAM as a crew chief, and you probably get somewhere in the order of like 11 hours of sleep over the total time.
Right.
And that was poor management on my part. And then immediately after getting done, I went to my business meeting and stuff like that, stayed at some hotel and down at the University of Virginia. And apparently they had a couple of basketball players that had heart rate monitor or heart viruses. And I stayed at the same hotel, and somehow I ended up with that. And, finally Nancy and my son-in-law said, you got to go see a doctor, and we went and did that. And our heart guy, who's still our heart guy now, he just said, look, if you weren't in the shape you're in, he said, either we'd be talking about, what are we going to do about you dying, or what are we doing about a transplant? He said, that's where we're at.
No way. Wow.
It was pretty amazing,
Yeah.
It was a little scary at first, but got past it. So
sheesh. That is quite the story.
Yeah, and he got over it. Well,
it took about 2 years, though.
The way he got over it was he broke his leg and he had to sit still for like 8 weeks, and so he got over it. And after that, boy, he was really under pressure because we had signed up for RAAM the week before he broke his leg. That was with the two of us.
Oh my goodness.
And so, I said, look.
Yeah, I turned my my right knee. Yeah, I turned it into mush.
Holy cow.
I had a tree do this. It wasn't a bicycle accident.
And
so it was pretty bizarre.
So.
But he
So-
lived and he came through. So
Yeah,
there
so-
you go.
So supposedly that was the thing that helped my heart virus recovery, was to break my leg.
Yeah, that's one kind of medicine, I suppose.
Yes.
I suppose.
Yep.
Sheesh, yeah. So as expected, many countless adventures, many unexpected in your journey of ultra cycling and life in general. Now, it's been a lot of fun chatting. I want to take a short pause break here to show folks some of these incredible photos that you sent through, and I'd love to go over them as we continue through. But we can see a lot of nice photos from the Race Across America, of course, photos from Borrego Springs in the 24-hour World Time Trial Championships.
And that one was the Mid-Atlantic, the one.
There's two of us on a pedestal.
Oh,
The next
no,
one's
no,
straight
it
up
was
from
straight
that.
up. Yeah, go straight up.
That one, yeah.
This one's the Mid-Atlantic. Yeah.
Cool.
There. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
This is RAAM.
Well, yeah, but it is RAAM. It
That's
is
us.
RAAM.
That's on
Oh,
our
that's right.
two-person.
Okay, that's our 2-person. Sorry.
Mixed, yeah.
Sorry, wrong
There's
one.
Oh.
some other stuff that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was Mid-Atlantic. but
Very
it's not.
nice
And
photos.
The
those-
very last one is Mid-Atlantic. It's in Maryland.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, Maryland is different than Mid-Atlantic. Mid-Atlantic is
Oh, yeah.
North Carolina. This one is, was that Maryland?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what,
That was the 12-hour championship or
two
2
years
years
ago.
Yeah.
2 years
Cool.
ago.
Wow.
Which I won. I finally won a championship. I won a lot of
Congratulations.
different ones, but this was one that they had designated the championship. So it was really cool.
No, that's really impressive. And it's nice to see you both having so much fun out on your bikes, and not just pedaling and kind of going down the block on a Sunday ride, but doing some of the world's most difficult ultra cycling events. That is something. You two are amazing. Now back to some of my questions here. I'm curious to know,
Yeah.
what are some of your fun, or rather, what are your favorite ride snacks that you like having during your ride or your racing?
Well, we've gotten to where we like Cliff Bars the best. They do. They just digest the best, and especially I like the ones with the little espresso shots, because I'm a real coffee fanatic.
Yeah.
So I like that. But just a real variety of Cliff Bars. Seems like they digest the best. And then we always have our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches always, if we're going more than 50, 60 miles.
Okay.
We'll have one.
Yeah, so sounds like some pretty common nutritional items. Now I'm curious to know, do you guys have a particular flavor of Cliff Bar that you enjoy the most? There's
No,
so
not
many.
really. I like the blueberry and the macadamia nut, and John likes all.
I'll eat any of them. It doesn't matter to me.
No.
It doesn't matter at all.
Wow, well,
No.
Nancy, we have a similar taste. I quite enjoy the blueberry. That's my favorite, and the macadamia is also one of my top ones
Oh,
too.
that's funny. Yep.
Yeah.
We do. It's not a snack, and maybe I don't know if this is a nutritional question for later or not. It's not a snack, but we kind of discovered this on what was that 500 miler up in New York? We did Saratoga.
Oh,
Yeah, we did that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and
No. 500.
it was the 500
The
with Adirondack 540.
Yeah.
ADK they call it.
ADK.
And we did that, and we did it. We were doing it as a pair, and like 20 minutes before it started, our crew of the time said, "Oh, we didn't realize it was going to be this long, so we can't do that." So we ended up starting a 540 with no crew.
Oh my goodness.
Kind of had to deal with it, and it was 4 laps.
Yeah.
It was 4 main laps, and way on out there and back, and I don't know. We did 3 laps or 2 laps? 3 laps, and I said, "Look, we're never going to get this right." And we'd done it one time before and had to quit because of a different hurricane that came through.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just, it was
our
impossible.
only DNF, our only one that we've ever had.
Wow.
So anyhow, in this one, and I didn't want to have to do this a third time. And I knew that she wanted to do this and get it done. I said, "Look, the only way this is going to happen is we finish this up, okay, and you go sleep for whatever, and I will jump in and get the van completely outfitted to be able to follow you and do that, and then you're going to ride this thing through. And she was totally gung-ho with that. And I don't know what happened. You just got rolling too hard on the last lap in the beginning. And, you know, you push yourself just over the edge, and then your stomach gets distressed and things go. And we did this, you were about, 30 miles into it maybe, or something like that. And she started getting sick and throwing up and stuff, you know, on the bike and all that, you know, the usual ultra stuff, you know, that happens. And, you know, she was going to get dehydrated, not eat. So what I ended up doing, I knew she needed electrolytes, and we still do the Hammer Endurolites. So what I made up is real warm instant mashed potatoes, and I just dumped a bunch of Endurolites in that. And it was so soupy that, I mean, it was soup, it wasn't mashed potatoes. And she could kind of slurp it down and absorb it, and it wasn't too rough and things like that.
I drank it for 120 miles.
Yeah, well, yeah, we kept her going on that, and she actually recovered on the bike with this, you know, because it was the little bit of carbs and getting the Endurolites and getting the moisture, the liquid in, you know, the fluids and stuff. And, you know, she's finished up pretty strong, but it turned into a crazy night because it just rained for about the last 6 hours and stuff. And, you know, I was driving and
drying my clothes.
I had clothes on the defroster on the dash and hanging from the visors, and, you know, and she'd stop. But that, anyhow, getting back, that instant soup mashed potatoes with the Endurolites just saved that whole thing. So that's a kind of a favorite. That's a fallback. And we still do that.
We still do that. Yeah. Especially when you start just to feel like you're just not quite, you know, your stomach's about ready to go.
And it's so neutral that I think it actually helps with stomach acids. You know, when people start getting that problem, you know, you start getting that taste in that little bit of bile, you know, that it's not going to be good coming up.
Well, that's pretty cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's a new one. I'm certain no one else has come up with that special secret recipe. So thank you for sharing your secrets with us. That may save a ultra cyclist or two from DNFing an event. And I'm just saying, my wife loves mashed potatoes, and I'll have to tell her about this new topping of Endurolites.
Yeah, you don't have to put any salt in it then, because you've already got them.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah, well,
you can sip it.
Good thinking, quick thinking, and
desperate men do desperate things. That's what I say.
Yes, very true. And well, glad you were able to come up with that. And that is one of the keys of ultra cycling, because things do happen. And as they say, especially for RAAM, you have to have a plan to not use your plan and to, you know, plan for the unexpected. And so it is cool to hear you share these stories of how you were able to cope with things that, as you say, is just a natural part of ultra cycling. That's the fun part of it. It's all that creativity and ingenuity.
Yeah, and ADK, the Adirondack, that came way before RAAM, so we learned a lot with that one. I remember we were carrying a flashlight. For some reason, we had to strap a flashlight on because one of our bike lights went out.
Oh yeah, our bike lights went out, and we were just, you know, like, we only had like 30 miles left to get in, and there was a police car parked at a house, and the guy was just getting out. And I said, hey, do you happen to have a flashlight or anything and some duct tape? And, you know, we told him who, you know, real briefly who we are, but he didn't really even care that much. And he said, yeah, here. And he pulled out one of those flashlights, you know, that they use like for a baton or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I duct taped that to her handlebars on the drops, and then wedged in some foam to get it so it actually would shine down on the road, and duct taped it on and said, yeah, it's fully charged. So we dropped it off later after the end of the race. Yeah. We left it on a vehicle there at his house or something. Yeah.
Wow.
Who knows?
That's a story. I'm just curious to know, where on earth did you get the foam from?
It was probably laying on the side of the road. You never know, a piece of trash.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It
matter,
wasn't
story.
in our, it wasn't
You're
in our,
constantly MacGyvering everything when you get to
Yeah,
that stage. It's just,
that's
how
exactly
can
it.
you finish?
Yeah,
So
glad Nancy that you have a MacGyver on your team. That's
I
very
know, I
special.
know. I just ride.
That's
Just
so
go,
cool. Okay,
okay.
now I'm curious for both of you. How about when it comes to ride hydration or drinking fluids and those kinds of things? Are there particular products or any kind of special potion that you guys have come up with?
Well, we used to use, long time ago, we switched from that, but now we use Scratch. We like
Ah,
Scratch,
yeah, yeah.
and and it seems like it works really well for us.
Yeah, very popular choice. A lot of the guests on the show have brought Scratch up. I myself have tried it for a number of years and really love the subtle flavors.
Yeah,
And so nice to see that even you.
the the flavors are good, but it's what the components of it, and the philosophy behind how it develops, and what it
Right, right.
is, and that. So that works really well for us.
hmm
Yeah.
And I could care less, sometimes, but I tell you, when it tastes a little bit better, you drink a little more of it, which is what
Yeah.
you need. So
Right, right. Yeah, and if I'm remembering correctly, the founder, I believe Alan Lim, I
Lim.
Lim.
believe it is, he actually went to my alma mater, UC Davis, University of California, Davis.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So it was always a special thing for me when I first came across Scratch as well, and also, the philosophy of using the product and getting all your calories through food rather than in the
Right.
actual hydration. So I definitely can see where you're coming from with that. And out there in the ultra cycling world, I know there are different camps of people who think differently, but I think it is a good strategy, at least for some. They may give it a try to separate those two rather than using some of these kind of heavier and more sugary kinds of drinks where you're getting everything packed in one. Sometimes it is hard on your stomach, especially if you have sensitivities. So thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. Very, very important tidbit of information that could probably help a folk or two out there. Okay, now how about you guys have done so many ultra events and all kinds of crazy stuff, and not just the distance, not just that in itself, but all the unexpected things. So you come back from a hard long ride like RAAM or one of these others, and you're tired. All you've been having is Endurolite potatoes and drinking Scratch. What do you look forward to eating after as your favorite post-ride meal?
Oh, that's funny because I always look forward to the Ram banquet, and then I get there and you just can't eat
I
because
can.
yeah, you can't. But I just, it's like, oh wow, you just eat a little tiny bit of salad or something, and it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, because I'm not sick. It's just it doesn't want to go down. So it
Yeah.
takes a couple days before. Well, for with a Ram, it takes me a couple days, but usually even with a long race, a ride or 24-hour race, it takes me a good day to get back to where I want to eat again.
Yeah, and that's her. She's always kind of like a bird when she eats anyhow. But as far as me, it's like I could eat the wallpaper right off the walls. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
just keep bringing it
Yeah.
on.
Oh, wow. That's
It's
That's why
hilarious.
he loves to go out with me because he'll just eat all of mine too. So
Yeah, sounds like a good partnership.
yeah, right.
That's funny. Okay,
It is.
now when it comes to the terrain of these different courses that you're doing, and just even training, do you prefer the climbs, the descents, the rollers, or the flats?
I like rollers because that's what we've trained on here, for 30 years or 25 years. And I don't like descents because I'm really small. I weigh about 110 pounds right now. And so
Mm.
I don't go fast no matter how hard I pedal. I can't go fast on descents. And the wind can get me on descents too because I'm little. So I usually, if we're on a team, I usually try to have John or one of the bigger guys ride down as much as I can. I don't mind going up, but
Yeah.
the going down is,
Yeah, neither one of us is like stellar climbers. I mean, that's not our thing, but we don't mind them in the slightest, and it is a a weight size kind of thing, for climbing. But she likes the rollers, and my absolute most favorite is just flat out in if there's wind, I don't care, but just flat and just lay it down and go. I just thoroughly enjoy that. And some people think it's kind of mind numbing, but to me, it's like, how long can I keep going this fast? I like doing that.
Yeah,
And as far as the descents
he
goes,
can ride all the way across Kansas. That's fine.
yeah, that's fine. But as far as the descents goes, I mean, I do okay, but I got to tell you, it always feels like I'm just on the edge of out of control, and I don't like that,
Right.
It's tense for me. Some people, they just get into it, but
Yeah.
to me, a big descent with some, pretty technical stuff I'm not relaxed.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Now, I do want to pull up this photo. Let's see if I could tell correctly. John, is that you?
Yeah.
That's John and Borrego.
There you are on a very nice light speed bicycle
there
going
he is.
flat out, just like you like.
Yep, that's him.
Now, I can relate with both of you, actually. When it comes to going down the descents, I tend to be quite conservative myself, but I know some guests on the show, either they were pro riders before and turned ultra cyclists, or some who actually were professional motorcycle racers. So, of course, they learned to cope with that and to deal with all of that high speed turning. And those guys just bomb down the descents.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But Nancy, just like you, I am on the lighter side. I typically under 140 pounds. And so whenever I get to a descent, that's always where people start picking me off. And but once I get to the climbs, which I prefer the most, I do quite well.
Yeah. Yep. Me too. I know.
Now, do you know, both of you, what your max speed down a hill has been before?
It was
together, wasn't it?
I think it was almost 60 miles, but
almost 60 miles an hour, like 58 or something.
But that was in the past. That was in the
past. That was in the old days. Yeah.
I don't think we could.
And we knew where we were going. It's really hard when you haven't seen the road ahead. You don't know what's coming.
Definitely, yeah. For sure, and especially if it's a new course, you do have to take some caution. You never know what's around the corner. I mean, even the course may be good, you may be good technically, but geez, there could be a deer or another animal or who knows what. So that's.
Well, we had a big bull one time.
Yeah,
no
giant bull.
And I kept going,
what was that?
Bull! I kept yelling, bull, bull. And John was saying, why would you want me to pull?
We were going down this descent, and I kept thinking she wanted me to pull. And there was this big bull walking on the center line coming up the hill.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, that was
in Colorado.
That was Colorado.
It was the tour of Colorado.
And she says, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And I said, "Well, you're the one with the red jacket on. I'll just stay behind you."
Wow, that is some fun stories you have there.
Yeah, I didn't think that was funny.
Yeah.
I just kept going like, ah!
Yeah.
The bull ignored me.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. Okay, now when do you both enjoy riding the most? When it's hot, when it's cold, during the fall, winter, spring, or summertime?
Oh, we like every season really. Although we don't anymore like to get out when it's really cold. We just don't. You just don't seem like you get the.
It's hard to get that workout. When you're really when it's in the 40s, it just doesn't seem like it seems like the air is heavy, and our lungs, to try to inhale that, you got to heat it up so you're getting chilled from the outside but also on the inside. So but the rest of the year, even though
Virginia is nice because even January, February, we can have some days that are warm so we can get out. And otherwise, we'll be on the trainers and doing Zwift because we do like Zwift a lot.
You do? Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I must say, for for folks as young as you are, liking Zwift and being on Zwift a lot, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I was racing some girls today. It was really fun. And then afterwards, a lady came on and she said, "You are incredible for it." And then I said, "Yeah, for an old lady." It was really fun. It was somebody from Italy. So, that I really enjoyed that, and it's fun. But we like summer, we like fall, we love fall. And I mean, we just got back from a trip where we went all around Wyoming and Colorado and just rode all over the place every day.
That's neat.
Really fun. We rode 96 miles around Yellowstone.
In Yellowstone, there's a loop in the center.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, we drove and drove and drove, different times riding. I was taking her places in Wyoming that I know and go and stuff like that, and showing her little places. And then when we got over there, we looked at the map, and I think she'd already decided we were going to try to do that. So we did that. That was a lot of fun. I thought it would be more difficult with all the traffic and stuff, but it was pretty good.
And we did 2 continental divides that day.
Yeah.
Up and over.
Wow.
So
but it was still kind of a tour thing. I mean, we saw a grizzly bear eating an elk, and, we rode right through a herd of bison, and, it just goes on and on, the stuff that we did, and we weren't doing dumb tourist stuff. We were being appropriate, but, 96 miles, and we did it in just right 6 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
So it was not bad for that. I don't remember how many thousands we climbed.
I actually took my first visit to Yellowstone National Park last summer. Must say it is gorgeous, and I would love to bicycle out there. I could only imagine what a fun adventure that was.
It was really cool. We saw them so much that day. In fact, we saw more that day than we did, just driving around.
Yeah, most definitely. That's the fun thing about bicycling. You can experience the world at a much slower pace. You could actually enjoy the sights, stop to smell.
Yeah, you see it, and you see it, and you smell it, and everything. All that. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about.
Then we went down to Jackson, and Jackson Hole area, and rode down there.
Oh, by the Tetons.
By the Tetons, just an incredible little route there. It was like 50 some miles, but man, oh man,
that's pretty cool.
It was.
Yeah, and I'm looking here at the Race Across America route. And of course, you guys have seen this in person many times over.
Yeah.
Sure,
my worst part is probably the first 200 miles because it's nervous. You're nervous, and getting out of Oceanside it's tough.
Right. Exactly.
Hot, tough.
Yeah, and all that anxiety has been building up, and you're just anxious to get started and get going and get in your rhythm. I can totally relate with you on that. But yeah, once you get into the low desert and you're climbing through the furnace of Arizona, and start really, warming up, I suppose you could say. Now you were talking about, smelling everything, seeing everything, and it's so true. Of course, in Arizona, you do get an occasional wild dog or two, but as you're going across, especially Kansas, Missouri, you'll get all kinds of things like mosquitoes and flies and worms and all kinds of things.
Oh,
that
everything.
Somebody who has never biked across America would never even think about such things.
Right.
You just think you're riding around the neighborhood and paved roads, everything's beautiful, and
no,
not quite.
One raw, I got bit by a dog, and I kept going because
we had 90 miles to go, and it was out there right on the not quite the Four Corners, but it was on the Ute Indian Reservation, and both of us worked out on the reservations. We know how things are. And our crew was saying, "Oh, we should stop and find the owners and blah 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 of the dog." And I said, "Well, for starters, the dog bit her." They said, "No one's ever going to even admit to owning the dog." No. And they said, "Well, we need to find out if it got shots." And I said, "We're on the reservations. The dog is not going to have shots. It's out there to protect and live with those sheep. And we were riding past the sheep, and it was protecting." So anyhow, the long story short, she ended up getting rabies shots off that deal, when we got back here. So, just another one of the things that you do. So.
Yeah, we went in, we got our time for raw. That was the second time we did it. And then went right to the urgent care and got it cleaned up and got a shot and everything. And so then they said, okay, and within 3 days you have to go start your rabies shots.
Yeah, and we were not going to do it. And our doctor has seen us for years and years and knows all these different bicycle things that have happened. And he's a Indian doctor. And anyhow, you know, we went and Nance showed him that, you know, for infection. And he just said, look, he said, you're going to have to get the rabies shots. He said, I don't really care. You know, we're not worried about the infection and stuff. He said, but in India, I have treated people who had rabies. And if you're not going to do this, I'm not your doctor anymore. You know, so we just, you know, bowed over to intelligence and went with it. So she got her rabies shots.
Jeez, well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you lived to see more races after that. What a crazy adventure. You two are just hardcore. I'm sure people at the urgent care must have thought you were crazy when you told them what you had just finished.
Well, they're pretty used to it.
No, the urgent care, that was in Durango.
Yeah.
And then, but you know, there were already a couple of people laying in there that, you know, had totally dehydrated and somebody's kidney shut down. So our dog bite was pretty minor.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so funny. Now, I did want to pause for a moment just to reflect on some of the achievements that both of you have accomplished through the years. Notably, Nancy, you first started with your RAAM teams in 2010 and 11, and then, of course, together as a couple. And I would say that, as you mentioned earlier, 2010, 11, John, you were her crew chief, so definitely helped her to be successful with the team. And then from 2012 onwards, both of you were racing together as part of teams. 2012 was part of team Beau and Babe. It was the two-person team, and you both set the over 60 record with 8 days, 3 hours and 43 minutes as your finishing time, which is a fantastic time. Well done on that. Then in 2013 and 14, you both raced in the Race Across the West to Durango, Colorado. And there again, you set the two-person over 60 mixed record with a time of 53 hours. And that year, the course was 878 miles. So very impressive there as well. Now, I know you did also compete in RAAM again in 2015 and then 16. In 15, you were trying to break the record there, four-person mixed team, Beau, Babe, and Buds. But unfortunately, just near the end in Virginia, Maryland, there were some remnants of a hurricane there. It slowed you down a couple of hours, but it was the difference of setting the record or not. So then you came back in 2016 and raced again in team Beau, Babe, and Boys. And then you did actually set the four-person mixed team record with a time of 7 days and 53 minutes. And that is a stellar performance. So both of you are veterans in this world of ultra cycling, have ridden for many years, and have embarked on so many adventures. And it hasn't been smooth sailing either. And you've faced a lot of adversity, and there's many, many stories there to share. So, you know, with that, I would love to ask you, you know, a very important question that comes up a lot, and that is, do you think that ultra cycling requires more physical or mental training, preparation, strength, fortitude?
Equal. We both think it's equal.
Ah,
We both do, because it's half and half. You know, you can have we have had times before when our bodies have been doing fine and mental. But the good thing with the two of us, we never get the mental at the same time. So, you know, we can coach each other through it a little bit, or just say, well, okay, I'll go out and ride for, you know, I'll ride for the next half hour, or, you know, for the next 30 minutes, and then you come on. And, you know, so I don't know how you can separate it, really.
Yeah. A lot of times, I mean, you know, unless there's some catastrophic body failure of some sort, or, you know, miscalculation, you know, and that, but I don't know, a lot of times, I mean, you can go a lot further with your body than you can with your brain. And your brain's what's telling you, oh, this is dumb, you know. Well, it probably was, but you know, your body could keep going. maybe not at the huge level, that you expect or are used to, but you can keep going. But your brain your mindset can get out of the game and convince yourself that I got to quit, or this is not right, or something, I don't know. It's mental.
But see, before we were doing it for our kids because they were in their older teens when we started. And now we do it for our grandkids because we don't want them to think that, you can mental your way out of something or make excuses for yourself or, find reasons not to finish something unless, of course, something happens, you break your leg or something like that. But mentally, it's really important that you try to always show people that there is a way and you can do it.
Because that mental thing, it's really this like little voice in the background trying to get you to quit. And you just have to recognize that no, that's just, you don't have to do that. There's not a physical reason for it. It's your mind telling you, and you kind of got to look past that and think your way through. So.
Well, that's well said. And I couldn't agree more that there definitely is a mental component there. And it's so true, like you said, John, that the human body really is incredibly resilient and incredibly able to do things like biking for days on end, sleep deprived. But there always is that voice, and being able to have, I think, a lot of experience, but also as you're training both physically and mentally, that ability to dig deep. And so, of course, both of you have done that, and it's very encouraging and inspiring to hear the rationale and some of the motivation for why you do what you do, to set that example. And I think not just for your own kids and grandkids, but of course for everyone watching, and myself included. I think you both have accomplished a lot. And again, it's not just like you picked up a bike and did a couple little things here and there, but you have consistently through many years and through your older years and later years of life been able to do just as amazing feats as you did when you first started. So that really does deserve a huge applause and accolades, because it's not an easy thing to do it consistently year after year after year.
Well, I remember one of the Calvin's challenges that I went over the bridge and
she crashed.
I crashed.
Calvin's challenge.
Went over a bridge,
off the bridge into
a muddy
algae strewn thing, and
stream.
Everything would have been okay on the landing in the water, except that there were railroad ties piled up underneath, and she hit those on the way down, and it was pretty crazy. She finished that. We were only
I know.
Well, we were only 70 miles into that thing, I think, when that happened, and we had to get a ride back to the start finish line. We borrowed somebody's wheel, Jim Parker's. Jim Parker's borrowed a wheel and finished it up, and you won your age or something.
Yeah,
I don't remember what.
I was still over 200 miles, but then when I got home, I had a broken rib. So I know that it was very painful riding when I stood up, like going up the hills. Thankfully on Calvin's, they didn't have lots of hills, but they had some good hills. Yeah. So
she had troubles with that Calvin's race for some reason. She crashed there twice.
Yeah, I also.
Her thumb. It's the most bizarre looking joint of thumb that she's got on that hand. And anyhow, by the time we got back, our Indian doctors said, "Well, look, if we can fix this, it's already started to heal. I have to break it again." And Nancy said, "Well, I don't know. It fits the handlebars pretty good now, so let's leave it alone."
Oh my goodness, that is.
Yeah, and that was a couple of weeks before the 24-hour challenge, and that was in the national 24-hour challenge. And in those days, that's those are the kind of ultra cycling that we did. That was in the early 200s. 204,
2000, 2000,
because I won that 4 times before. We couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's more a troublemaker, Nancy or you, John, with your broken knee. And
we're pretty equal.
Well,
he doesn't do it on the bike.
Yeah, knock on wood. I don't do stuff like that on the bike. She does. I mean, she just broke her arm last spring.
No, with my wrist.
Well, up above. It's the arm above it. Anyhow, she's got screws and pins and the titanium plate in her arm now. And, she was riding 3 days later. And then, the orthopedic guy said, well, you can ride it until the surgery, and then you're going to have to take a couple of days off again. And so she was on the trainer instead of being out on the roads to minimize
He said I
jostling.
could do the trainer. Yeah, he said you can be on the trainer as much as you want. I said, oh, okay.
That's pretty cool. Now, Nancy, you really remind me of one of the slogans of Spiegel Bikes, one of your sponsors, and that is being invincible is a choice. And you definitely remind me of that, because it sounds like, well, for both of you, quite frankly, you both have chosen for so many years to push your bodies to extremes. And even when there is a valid reason to throw in the towel, come back the next time, you both have found a way to make it happen, from the Enduro light potatoes to, all kinds of
borrowing a wheel and keeping on going.
Yeah. So very, very cool. And it's nice just to hear again, to get that perspective. And again, especially at your age, it just goes to show that really there's no excuse. And like you said, for your own kids and grandchildren, it's such an amazing example that you've set for them. And so I'm curious, what do your family say? What do they think? I mean, it's not a small thing what you're doing. Most grandparents are content being at home playing with the kids, whereas you guys are riding hours on end on the trainer and outside.
Well, I wanted to say something, and you gave me kind of a start on that. But you're saying, what do our family think? Well, our son Daniel has not always, he hasn't been able to like crew for us, but he's been here and he installed all our electronics and all the vehicles, helped get everything ready here. And then 2 times he was part of the little mini crew that drove from Virginia out to San Diego and Oceanside, with the vehicles. And then we flew him back. He just couldn't do that kind of time. But, that was, that's his kind of commitment. And then our oldest daughter, who's in the Marine Corps, she's got 4 sons, and she's in the Marine Corps, and so's her husband. And when we did the 2-person mix, she was our crew chief.
And she's a logistics major for the Marines. So
wow, incredible.
Not a major anymore.
No.
She's a lieutenant colonel.
Yeah.
Wow. But she was logistics. That's her her MOS. Yeah. So
she was great. She was so wonderful. And it was really hard on her though, seeing putting us out there sometimes. She said, Mom, I just don't want to put you out there. And then one time she had John riding forever because she didn't want me to go up the end of
Wolf Creek. I got to climb all of it. And she had never seen Wolf Creek, and I don't know, they rode up and he said, you keep going. I said, well, when are you going to put Nance on? And they said, oh no, just a little bit, and it just doesn't go that much further. And I said, well, if you look way up there and you see those little bitty lights up there, that's not even halfway yet. Okay?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And they said, oh, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And so I think they pulled me off at a quarter mile from the summit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that
I did it.
Yeah.
I
went all the way from the Pagosa Springs up to there. Good grief. At least there wasn't any lost time for transitions, so whatever.
No,
it was pretty funny though, because she said I just, and then after that she got a lot better about getting the balance. But she was like, wow, that was really hard, Mom. I didn't want to put you out there.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking too.
Wow. Yeah, so that must have been so much fun being able to do it with her, and just as a team, again, as a crew, as the riders, there's just so many memories that you just can't make anywhere else. And overcoming the adversity together, seeing the struggle, helping one another, and all of those things. So there's a lot of teamwork involved there. So I can only imagine, as a married couple, you know, what kind of joy you can both celebrate in all the years of your marriage, because there is so much that you learn and experience together on the bicycle that I'm sure translates into your life. So it's very cool. And I do envy that and hope that I can have that in my own life and through the years and for so many years, as both of you have been able to share together. And I do want to see some more of these nice photos that you sent. I think just so many great memories.
Yeah, that was our Beau and Babe starting, wasn't it? Yeah, that was
yeah.
when Beau and Babe
So the
started.
two-person, and that is impressive. 60 plus years of age, setting that record that year. I mean, to be able to share that kind of accomplishment together as a couple, I mean, there can't be anything better than that, right?
It's a rarity. Yeah, we really
fun.
did. And you know, there's no way that you could ever, you can't even really wrap your head around how much goes on and all the little experiences. But I will say that racing as a two-person, like that picture was showing, that's really one of the few times that we actually saw each other than a transition, because you're just two people.
Yeah.
So, you know, for X number of days, and we each had our own vehicle. So, you know, we weren't even, you know, we weren't doing anything. I think they gave us 15 minutes to be together and talk and stuff like that at the Mississippi. You know, or something like
5 minutes.
5 minutes or whatever. I don't know. It's probably
Impressive.
because they were trying to get gas and they just said, well, we're doing something nice for you. But
wow, that is impressive. So it's cool because, of course, even as a couple, you know, you rely on one another for strength and encouragement, these kind of things day to day in life. But it's amazing that how independent both of you are and how driven and how strong you both are to ride across America just really on your own in that two-person team for so long, not even seeing each other for such a long time. It just goes to show how strong both of you really are and how hardcore both of you are physically and mentally. And that is really a rarity, I would say, to find two people as fit and as athletic as you both are, but then also to be a couple. That is, I suppose, what they call a powerhouse couple. So well done, and definitely a partnership of envy for many, I'm sure. Now here's John flaunting his light speed.
That was in Texas.
Is that Texas?
Texas time trials. I see it right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
214. Yeah, that was. We did the 500 as a mixed team, and we did it like 3 years, didn't we?
Something like that. Yeah.
But we set the mixed team 60 plus record.
I don't know if it still stands, but
yeah,
you know,
it does.
Okay. But that's on the second or third course that they had.
Yeah,
that's the last one.
That was Glen Rose.
That's Glen Rose, the one now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's interesting. As you were talking about earlier, you both have ridden in many of these events through every edition almost. And so you've seen even the different course changes and all kinds of things happening. Of course, this year, unfortunately, I know you both had the plan to do the Borrego 24-hour World Time Trial Championships. Unfortunately, was canceled due to the pandemic. And I guess that'll just be added to the list of peculiarities that has happened through your many years of racing. But do look forward to seeing you both back out in the racing scene and on the road in competition next year. I'm curious.
That Texas time trial reminded me, because we talked about the different editions of it, and the very first one, you signed me up. You said, let's do this, the 500-mile deal.
Yeah.
That was my first 500 miler.
And you RAAM qualified.
Yeah, I RAAM qualified on that one, but it was the most notable thing about that is that you made me sleep on a concrete bench for about 15 minutes.
Wow.
I did.
Yeah, because she thought I was getting a little funny, I guess. And then the very last lap, somehow the 2 laps, I don't remember how many miles they are, but in the 2 laps, I didn't have my water bottle. You know how at the end of these things, your brain's not always working right.
Right.
And I didn't have it. And I made 1 lap with none. And then I went through, and there was no way I wasn't going to stop. I had to get this done. And it rained. And about, I don't know, a third of the way through up on the flats, there were some puddles right on the center line. And I stopped my bike and I slurped up water off of the center line with sand and stuff in it, just so I could get myself finished, because my mouth was just cotton. That was it. And I was thinking, I've been seeing cattle vehicles running up and down this road. I'm probably going to get sick of this, some kind of gastrointestinal distress, but at least I'll make this lap. So, and it was the last one. Nothing happened. But
no, you didn't. You weren't sick at all. You were eating like crazy. I
was eating like crazy as usual, but afterwards. But
he doesn't get sick.
But not many people will be drinking water puddles off the center line of a road, in a race. But I was desperate.
Yeah, John, I can't say I've ever heard of anybody in my life ever even trying to do such a thing or considering. So that is something to note for the future.
But not necessarily to do. I wouldn't repeat that.
Yeah, geez, honestly, this interview is as raw and as real as you could possibly get.
Yes,
and is. I'm sure everyone watching is probably thinking, and who would have thought that it would come from old Nancy and John Guth?
Oh, well, if they know us, they probably would know. But
yes, right.
Yeah, especially a literacy professor, two lives.
Yeah, seems like it. Definitely a superhero on the bike for both of you. So it's nice to share your story and uncover some of these secrets that you've learned across through time. Endurolite potatoes, water puddles in the middle of the lane. Don't do that.
This picture right here, is that the last one? The second to last one?
No, we saw this one. Now there is this other photo here where both of you are riding.
I don't know what.
I don't know. That looks like Sebring out there, doesn't it? Down in Florida.
Eddie's from Sebring.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing that I'd like to point out is that it appears that in most, if not all, of your rides, you actually both ride individually and not as some couples do on a tandem, right?
No. We had a tandem. We had a tandem for a while.
Very short time. I didn't like him shifting for me, and I just like to be.
Yeah, we had a very expensive titanium Santana with the extra wheels and all kinds of crazy stuff. And anyhow, I think we rode that thing for maybe 50, 60 miles. And the only conclusion I had is that my kidneys were far too close to her fist for going around things.
That's hilarious.
So we didn't do that. But we enjoy riding together like that.
Yeah.
On individual bikes and stuff where it's legal. I mean, there's some of the races you can't draft and do that kind of things, but
that's pretty unique, and I think cool, Nancy, especially for you being able to just ride on your own. But in fact, it seems like you have led the way from the beginning, and I think that's a cool story and definitely something to be proud of as a female ultra cyclist. And I hope that gives other females out there the inspiration to do that as well, to kick the butt of their significant other.
Yeah.
But both of you are definitely very accomplished, motivated, and very much so have the mindset of solo racers. And so it's just cool that you're able to do that together, motivate each other, encourage each other, and just have fun while you're doing it.
That was cool. That was that was winning at the 12-hour in Maryland, the Maryland Championship, yes. 2 years ago. Yeah.
So impressive.
And that was RAAM. Yeah, I think that was Alvin when he was talking.
I don't know.
And of course, we saw this nice photo. Really captures John in his element, speed.
Yeah, I think that's one of I think that was Vic Armijo's.
Yeah, and that's got to be late in the day because see the shadow? Yeah. That's got to be those last 4-mile laps that you get onto. And I get turned on at the end. I just I don't know, whatever's left, I get into it, and
that's cool.
And I guess I know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and all I got to do is make it a couple more laps as hard as I want to go. So it's kind of fun. But
Yeah, that is true. It always is nice to know when you're nearing the end and, so to speak, downhill. Now, I'm
Yeah.
curious for, say, something like the Race Across America, for both of you, perhaps it's a different answer. When do you both feel like you're nearing the end and you're almost there, home stretch for the Race Across America?
just before Hanover.
After Mount Airy.
Yeah, Mount Airy, but Hanover,
Yeah.
in that area, you got to, what is that little other place that we do the climbs? Right out almost after the end of everything before you get there. It's before Hanover and before Gettysburg and Breezewood, not Breezewood.
No. Scott, what is Slidell or what's it?
Sidling Hill.
Sidling Hill, yeah, after that.
Once you get past Sidling Hill for us, it's like, we know this. We've cycled all those roads and stuff, and we know we can do this. We got this done now. Now just stay upright and finish,
Yeah.
Mm.
Of course, that was when we had all that rain, and then the
well, yeah,
roads
but
were-
that happened
yeah.
in West Virginia and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you're making these major descents on winding roads and driving rain at 2 o'clock in the morning. And, you don't know if that puddle ahead of you is just a little tiny bit of water or is that a 2-inch deep pothole. You have no idea, so you just
We
can't.
had to slow down.
You can't, black surface, black hair, it's raining, you just slow down. But yeah, sidling, to answer your question, I think pretty much once you get past there, for us anyhow.
Well, for me, it's more like after Mount Airy.
Yeah.
At Mount Airy, then you know that.
Yeah, well, the rest of it you can finish, but
Yeah.
but it's interesting how all the people that we run into, once they get past the Rocky Mountains on RAAM, like a lot of the Europeans and even a lot of Americans actually.
Yeah.
They get past the Rocky Mountains. They said, "Oh, we got this made now." We just go across, and and they just totally discount the Appalachians, and you can't do that.
No.
The grades are terrible, and there's lots of them.
It's humid. It's really hot and humid.
Yeah.
So it can get. I mean, we're used to it. We live out here, but
Right.
yeah, it can really get.
And it's at the end too, so it doesn't help anything. But
Yeah, that's so true. And it is a long distance, 3,000 miles over many days. And, you're battling the heat of Arizona. You get some respite in Colorado, at least in terms of temperatures. But even there, it can get very hot. And then, of course, as you get through Kansas, it starts getting really humid.
And then
Very
Missouri, you
onwards,
get the
there's-
bugs.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
you
so
can
many
get
bugs.
Bad bugs in Missouri. Yeah.
And there's so many rolling hills, right? All the way until you finally hit the big rolling hills off the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, you can't take it easy, and you can't declare victory too soon, because not only the route is challenging, but the elements. And as you have both seen in one of your Race Across Americas, right there near towards the end, you were having to deal with the remnants of a hurricane, which ended up slowing you down, and was the difference between setting a record that year and not. So you really are not done until you cross that finish line.
No, you sure aren't. No, you don't want to count your chickens before you got them.
Yeah, so you need to round them up first.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Now, I have a few other questions that I'd love to know, and as we close out on this wonderful interview together. The first question I have is, are there any future plans that you have or something on your, what they call a bucket list? You guys have ridden for so many years and have accomplished so much. Is there still something left for the Guths to accomplish together?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's on a new kind of a kick, and we started doing it here a couple of years ago, but all the rails to trail stuff, that's really been kind of fun to just go out and explore. It's not racing.
Yeah, it's
kind of like training and stuff, but you get to see a lot of interesting stuff, and and we really have been enjoying that, and it gives us an excuse to go different places. Like I said, we hit all these states on that this last trip, this late summer, early fall, and we got how many states, 14 states or something like that we rode in. That was our goal, and we got pictures of, here you are entering Wyoming, and here you are South Dakota, North Dakota and stuff, stuff
so
like that.
We're hopefully that we're gonna ride rails to trails in every state. So that's our goal.
Somehow, even if it's not rails to trails, just try to hit every state.
For those of us who aren't familiar, why is it called rails to trails?
Because it's from the, it used to be railroad. And so they take the old railroads.
The railroad beds.
And they put whatever.
Like disconnect, they just obsolete or discontinued rail lines and stuff like that. And the rail beds are still there. So like Nancy was saying, they they'll surface them. Some of them are gravel, some are asphalt and stuff like that. But, they're straight and the grades aren't too bad, because it's a railroad, and you can do a lot of stuff. It's been pretty fun, just exploring the country. There's a lot of country, not just like, RAAM where you explore, but you can explore at a little different level and meet people. We definitely meet some really interesting people. And I don't mean on bikes. I mean like in some cafe someplace or, a gas station or whatever,
But that's just a fun side.
It's a bucket list. Yeah,
it is. But it's something that we will accomplish. And after RAAM, I don't know, the goal is to do one more RAAM and to be the first 70 plus lady that finishes.
And we have discussed, like New Zealand and Australia, and there's a few events in Canada, and neither one of us has ever been to Alaska. So, there used to be a big event in Alaska, the Fireweed 400. And, that one was pretty cool. I don't think they're doing that one anymore, but
we wanted
it was a 400-mile out and back with no turns.
Wow.
We'd like to do the race across Oregon sometime too, because we've never been up to Oregon. That's another state that we just haven't been in.
We've heard lots and lots, and we know George Thomas, the guy that runs all that, and we've done his Natchez Trace, the 444.
Yeah, we've done that twice. We love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's 440 miles on the same road with no stop signs and no turns.
It's really cool.
It's just insane.
It's amazing.
It's just how fast can you go?
So there's some that we'd like to go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's nice. So many adventures, great people to meet out there, many memories to make, as you said. And it's cool just seeing the zest for life that you both have and that zest for exploration and adventure. That's pretty cool. And I'm sure it keeps you both going strong. Now, I'm just curious, as a final kind of technical detail, I'm wondering for both of you, what does training look like each week from week to week?
I'm more everyday type training, and it's not even training for an event. It's my head. I've got to be out. I've got to get my fresh air. I've got to get or down in the basement, have to get my heart rate up, and just to feel good about myself and to get my head clear. And then on the weekends, we always try to do a little more miles, like at least get 100 in on a weekend.
Which isn't a lot for some people, to do, but we try to have the intensity up there when we do it and still have fun. We still try to do that. But training when we were doing RAAM for the 2-person, well, actually all of them, we were pretty dedicated. I got to say, I think we were most dedicated when we did the 2-person, because we knew, we were going to be doing half of this thing each, at least. And it wasn't going to be like a 4-person, which is a little different. But I think we trained really hard. We were. What were we doing? We were doing like 450, 500-mile weeks.
A couple of them, but not too much either, because it's a real balance for us, at least getting overtired. And, so John takes more days off than I do. But then he's out in front pulling most of the time too. So, we train a little differently.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
true. An interesting dynamic that you raised that for many of us, we may take for granted, given perhaps our younger age, but it is true as you get older, it does take more time to recover from these kinds of things, even just the training, not even the event alone. And so
Yeah.
it's really incredible that you are able to do what you've done, and even in recent years, and it just goes to show that, wow, the human body really is capable of quite a lot even in the older years. So that's very impressive. Thanks for being such
Our
a great.
geriatric years.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important for me, at least, not to take too many times off, because
Mm,
it's harder to get back.
mm,
It's much easier to just stay on a plateau, so to speak,
mm,
than to, go up and down and up and down. And if you take too many days off, and then you have to go back up. So
mm.
that's just one of the reasons I like to just ride most days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And very wise words. I hope we can all take that to heart and apply that to ourselves. And then perhaps we can accomplish what both Nancy and John Guth have accomplished.
Oh.
And along those lines is one of the final questions. I'm wondering, what tips do you both have for cyclists or even non-cyclists who might be interested in getting started with ultra cycling?
I think the most important thing is not to start, and to start ride, try to ride it at least every day or as often as you can, but don't start with a lot of miles and build up slowly,
Mm,
because we did, and I think that saved us. We never had, a couple times we had sore knees, and we went to a doctor, and he said, well, you're just stretching your ligaments. And so,
mm,
you just have to be careful that you don't do too many miles at first.
mm,
And I mean, then after that, we started getting 10,000 miles a year. But that
mm,
was, after a couple years of, working at it steadily.
Because when people start off, you can do big, mega miles, and you can do all that, and you build your muscle. There's no doubt, and you build your cardio, your whole cardiovascular system. You can build and stuff, and and it starts getting used to it. But people forget about the fact that you might have all these rippling muscles, and like 0% fat, and on and on and on.
mm,
But it's easier to build muscles, but a lot of times where people start failing on that is the ligaments and the tendons that take a lot more time to
mm.
build up and become more connective, and being able to handle the power of
And
those
stretch
muscles,
too.
and the stretch. They have to
Yeah.
grow a little bit and stuff. And that's usually where you have people, they say, oh, I've got a tendon, or I got a ligaments messed up, or something in my knee. Almost anything in your knee, other than some cartilage, is usually, the ligaments and things like that in there. They just take a lot longer to come into sync with that kind of riding than the muscles. I mean,
So just,
that's our thoughts.
yeah,
anyhow.
just to have people take time to get it, not expect to do just mega miles in 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Thanks for sharing that. I think it will help people save themselves the pain and agony of an injury, not just physically, but if you're sitting on the sidelines and not able to train or race, that always is a bummer. And
It is. And so many people get hurt, and then they start, having issues. And so then they don't do it. And then they come back to it, and it happens again. And so pretty soon they lose interest, or they don't think they can. But I think if you start slowly and gradually build, it's much better for you.
And something we've done with that, I guess, with the last 10 years or something, is really a good qualified fit to that bike.
Oh yeah.
A really good qualified one with somebody who understands distance stuff. Not, it's different than triathlons, and it's different than time trials, and all these kind of things. But if that bike's not right, first of all, you're never going to develop all the power and efficiency you need. But that can start to cause or be a root cause anyhow of some injuries and things like that, where your body is overstretching, or maybe not, and maybe it's understretching.
John calls me the princess and the pea because I can tell if my tires are down a couple pounds. I can tell if my saddle has gone down or up. I mean, just.
And being the mechanic, that's much to my chagrin, to tell you the truth. But, I have learned to not ignore what she's saying. Now, she might have a description that I have to really detectivize my way through to try to figure out, what it is. Because sometimes these things are not what they seem to be. They're something completely different. And, but the deal is, don't ignore them. And really a seriously good bike fit, with that is by somebody who's competent to do that, who's got some history to it, so that's a thought.
Those are the two.
Those are some great tips, and I think excellent foundational ones. It is an endurance sport, and it's also a sport of patience, not just in the riding and the training, developing those muscles, those tendons, those ligaments, but also with all the stories you shared, and I'm sure there's many, many more, but in the stories you shared just today, that, there are setbacks, there are challenges, there is adversity. And through that, if you could just take a kind of patient mindset, drive back to the start line, get that new will, keep going, that'll take you the longest distance, I think, when it comes to ultra cycling. And I think, the tips that you gives a good indication to some of the reason why both of you have been able to be so successful over more than 2 decades of riding ultra cycling events, and the world's toughest ones as well. So you guys definitely know what you're talking about, and so thankful to be able to share the knowledge and experience that you've had, but also the great memories that you've shared together. Of course, all these other wonderful photos. This is a great picture of both of you, and you could just see that joy from riding together and competing and just having a blast.
That's the end of a 24-hour. That's the end of a 24-hour, and I'm not sure if I'm smiling because it's over. I think.
Yeah. Wow.
That was what was the name of that one in Texas?
Bessie's Creek.
Bessie's Creek. Yeah. We did the 500-mile Bessie's Creek. Yeah. And that was at Sebring.
Oh, that's Sebring. Yeah. That's so cool. Because they race cars all day long, and then we get on at night, and go. That's neat. It is.
So many wonderful memories here.
That was Michigan. Yeah.
Something you were talking about, knowledge and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a very good time for me to say, though, that, we have gleaned an incredible amount of information from lots of other people.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't learn all this stuff on our own. We tried things, we failed. We did this, we did that. We listened to what people had to say. We made it work for us. Or, there was what was the guy, Fuzzy Lee Mitchell.
Yeah.
And
yes.
he was quite the guy. I read everything that he ever wrote for his crews and stuff like that, and glean stuff. And I would listen to everybody and take all little tiny bits and pieces of information and try to catalog that in my head or write it down. So, we didn't learn all this stuff just by ourselves. We took a lot of people, and that's why I think it was kind of fun to talk to you and throw little bits and pieces out. It's not like we're know-it-alls at all, but if somebody else can do something, and run with it, and they don't have to reinvent the wheel for themselves. That's the name of the game. It's not like this, super secret stuff. We'd like everybody to do their max, and if they beat our records, wonderful. That's great. Because then they did it. And that's the kind of stuff. We're not trying to hide anything, and because nobody ever hid anything from us. So.
Well, that is definitely the heart and mindset of champions, and so I guess it makes sense that both of you would say such a thing. And I couldn't agree more that, standing on the shoulders of giants is really what the ultra cycling family is about, and being able to learn from one another and, really just bettering ourselves, inspiring others through the stories that we're telling, through the gift that we have of cycling. And so I really appreciate both of you taking the time to share not just all that knowledge and that experience, but really just the fun, inspiring, and joyful stories. It really is cool to hear that. and refreshing, especially from both of you. And you did mention Lee Mitchell, and I would say that he has a special place in my heart as well, because he was always one of the support volunteers at the Davis Double Century out here in California.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he would be out there all the time with his van all decked out like he was doing the Race Across America, cheering on all the hundreds of cyclists, both in the Devil Century, also the Foxy Falls Century. And in fact, one year, my brother and I were riding that, and about mile 20, we both crashed. There was a big peloton, and someone cut out of their line. And who sagged us home? It was Lee Mitchell.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I
Oh,
still
man.
remember him. He dropped us off at our college apartment, and he just said, just keep going. Just keep going.
Good.
Yeah,
for
there
him.
you, that's
Yep,
the way
that
he'd
was
be.
Lee. Yeah,
Yep,
we
exactly.
loved Lee. We really did.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
the cool thing about the family of ultra cyclists. There's so much support, love, and care. And really there is some friendly competition here and there, but at the end of the day, everybody is really just having a blast of doing it and seeing what everyone's limits and boundaries are. And of course, both of you have pushed yourselves to the breaking point. And I suppose it sometimes have broken a thing or two as well.
Yeah.
But glad you're
Just a
still alive
few.
to share about that. Now,
Yeah.
just a fun way to kind of close out on today's wonderful episode with you both. Thanks again. Just a fun couple questions here. First one, John, you kind of already touched on it, but I'm curious for both of you, how would you both rate yourselves in the way of bicycle maintenance on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being exceptional? Where would you place yourself in terms of keeping your bike, lubed up, all the chains, changing the wheels, keeping pressure in the tire?
Oh, he's the mechanic in the house. I'm the food person. So we do that, but I'm the one who always is asking him to do it. Like, John, I think this needs, I would really like you to put some more lube on it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I'm probably the one who notices it and brings it up, and he's the one who does it. So it's a shared process.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but I can hear things on bikes all the time, whether something's not quite right or something needs an adjustment and stuff. And she may not even know it sometimes and that, but we'll change bottom bracket bearings out before races and check everything.
I mean, like every week or so is what.
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
getting to,
as far as rating goes, I don't know if it's difficult because some of these shop guys, I mean, they're just absolutely stellar, and I have an advantage in that basically I only have to know the intricacies of 4 identical bikes. Right. So I work on 4 bikes that or more, but generally we're dealing with just 4. So if I have a problem with one, I've really learned it for the other ones. So maybe I'm really good with what I've got, but you hand me something else and I might be a little not totally sure about what needs to be done and
well, to me, it sounds like you're being modest, John, because as we were talking about earlier, you are the MacGyver in the family over there.
Yeah.
And you've come up with a lot of...
He's an engineer, even though he's a mining engineer, he's an engineer. And so he's the one who always knows, he knows why stuff is going on. I don't know why, I just know it is, and I want it fixed, Yeah,
it's a cool partnership you have. As long as you keep feeding him, then he's content to do.
Yep.
There you go. Yep.
Final question I have for you both. Who would you want to nominate for a future episode on the show? Is there a person or two or somebody that has inspired either of you, or a story that you would just like to know more about yourself?
I think George Thomas would be great. He would be so interesting, and he's got so much. He's like us. He's got so many races that he did.
Oh my God!
And now he's putting them on. So I think he'd be fantastic. And we've learned a lot from George in the past years.
Oh yeah. As a rider and as a promoter, I mean, he's done RAAM on tandem. He's done RAAs. He's done, he's a promoter. He's a ski instructor, when he's not doing his other stuff. Yeah. He'd be pretty cool. I was trying to think of somebody else too, though. I really was, but he's he's right there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no,
Another one who'd
Tom
be cool
Buckley.
is Joe. Oh, Tom Buckley. Oh, I don't know. He's one of our teammates for this coming year, but he's something else. He might be really interesting. Another one would be Joe Barr from Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if he could
Yeah.
ever. I mean,
He could get him.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah,
He-
no,
he-
actually, we did interview Joe Barr. I think-
Really?
yeah, you should check out his episode. Really a fascinating
Yes.
discussion we had, and a great guy,
He
both
is
as
great.
a racer himself, but also as a coach, as a promoter himself,
Yeah.
and just a breadth of experience and knowledge. And of course,
Yes.
he was an ex-pro as well, so he definitely knows what he's talking about. And that was episode 12. We discussed all of his races, including
Oh,
his
okay.
world records. And I know he set another one there in Ireland. I can't remember if it was from east to west and back again, or the opposite. But
I don't know.
Yeah, just recently.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
recently.
exactly.
Yeah.
yeah, so just like both of you, still very active and not giving up one bit.
No.
No.
Well, thank you
no.
both for those suggestions. Definitely would be great stories to hear. But, for you too, thank you very much for taking the time to share all the many years of countless adventures and struggles and trials, and also successes. And of course, congratulations on all that you've done. And I hope you do both get the chance to celebrate together and with those that you love around you, and all that you have done, looking back to see, wow, how far you both have come, and to think that there's still a road ahead for both of you to do, that you're passionate about, that you're excited about, that keeps you waking up each morning to hop on the trainer, to get out on the bike, and to keep just living life to its fullest together. So thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It was a pleasure for
Enjoy
us
it
as well.
thoroughly.
Yes, and we hope we can see you hopefully in person someday soon.
Yes, I look forward to it, and perhaps at the starting line of the Race Across America next year. We'll see.
Okay.
But for all those watching at home, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, got some fun and laughter out of it, but also some motivation and inspiration, and that you would realize that your body physically is capable of a lot, and there's no excuses. And John and Nancy's story epitomized that. And so I would encourage you to start slow, as they suggest, and build your way from there. And we hope to see you at the starting line of the Race Across America, and more importantly, at the finishing line. So until next episode, everyone, keep spinning ultra.
Thank you.
Thank you.